Hi, my name's Paul Offord, and today I'm going to talk to you about microblogging and how you can get started with it in a very simple way. Okay, so on the agenda today we've got the concepts and purpose of microblogging. We're going to look at the microblogging commands that you might send to a server, to a microblogging server. I'm going to do a quick demonstration of me actually using a server, and I'm going to very briefly touch on some additional software called MbClient, which can make the use of microblogging much faster. But I'm only going to touch on that briefly, and I just want to make you aware of its existence. And then we're going to look at where we can find more information about the subject. Okay, so the concept came from Julian, OH8 STN, who's up there in Finland, and he proposed this idea that you should be able to create small bits of information, like mini web pages, if you like. We'll call them blog posts, because this is a blog, a microblog. So you should be able to create those, serve them up from your own computer connected to your own transceiver. And to enable all of this, the idea is to use JS8 call as the transport mechanism, so that other operators can use JS8 call to send a request to your PC running the server and request a piece of information, and then that be sent back to you on your computer, and you're then served up that information. So the other server and the other computer and the other transceiver, we'll call them the client, just uses JS8 to request information. So the sort of information that might be requested is a list of all the most recent blogs, posts on the blog rather, or then to actually get a specific post to pull the information from the server. So it would be like you doing a listing in Google search and then clicking on one of the things that return to you, and you actually get the page back. Same sort of idea. Julian proposed that the whole model should be decentralized so that anyone can serve up microblogs. And most importantly, it needs to work without the internet being available. This is particularly useful when you come to what we foresee as being a primary reason for using this, which is for emergency comms. So you can imagine that as a radio operator, you've got no access to the internet because the cellular network's down, the broadband service is completely gone, and now you need information. Let's say you need information about where do I get water, what time of day will the power be on. Things like that you would serve up through a microblog server, and it would be accessed using HF or VHF, I guess, or UHF, whatever. Okay, so this is, we've talked conceptually about posts in a blog. This is some idea of what you might see. So here you see a listing, and you can see that it's got a blog number, which is hash 20, let's say, number 20. It's got a date, and then it's got a title. Now this is actually quite an older screenshot, and the only thing that's changed here is the hash isn't there. Actually, there is no hash. It just says 20 and then the date and then the title, but you'll see that when I do the demonstration. So let's decide. Let's imagine that we're quite interested in the RSGB propagation news. So you'll see in the next entry, we've issued a get command to actually go and get blog item 20, and we've pulled that back, and you can see then what's actually in that post, and you get the information. As you can see, it's as you would expect with JS8 call, it's all capitalized. You've got a restricted character set, but for the purposes for which we want to use it, this is not really a limitation. This is perfectly adequate for what we need. So just to run over these bits and pieces in this screenshot, I touched on this. There you see the post ID, there you see the post date, and then we have the actual title. So let me show you what that looks like on the PC that's running the server. So it's quite simple. We simply have a directory. Let's just come over here. I need to that's it. We have a directory, which is the post directory, and there you can see exactly the same information. You see the post number, you see the post date, and you see the title of the post. Now the 000 post is a specific one which contains the current weather information at the location of the server. So that's just something specific that's been put in to support weather commands, and I'll show you that when we do the demonstration. Let's look at the main components of the whole solution. So on the left we can see we've got JS8 call running and connected to the icon transceiver at the bottom of the slide. On the right hand side we've got another transceiver, obviously the remote one. This is connected to a PC that's running JS8 call, and it's also running this Microblog server software, which is just a small Python script. And not getting into too much technicality here, but basically the server connects to JS8 call through an application program interface or API. Okay, and the operation is very simple. You type in a command in the Microblog server output message window in that box there, and you send a request. You hit enter and that sends a request to the server, and the server responds. And that's it. Nothing more than that. Before we jump into the demo, let's have a look at the actual commands. So these are the commands that we send to a server. So actually all of these, except for the last one, which I'll talk about in a second, but all of these must be directed to the station that's running the server. So you can see that we've got a simple command m.l that lists the 5 most recent posts. Now all of the commands that you direct to the server start m.l, or sorry, start m. because we need to give some way of uniquely identifying them as being microblog commands. And so the sequence of m. and then the command is a way of us making it look a bit more unique. So m.l greater than 22, for example, will list all posts with an ID greater than 22. Now when I say all posts, actually it's limited to 5 as a maximum, because if you can imagine, if there were say 200 posts on the server and you did m.l greater than 22, you would then sit and wait while it delivered 178 list items. That would occupy the server for a considerable period of time, because obviously the transmission speed is quite slow. So at the moment we're limiting everything to 5 lines, except for actually a blog post, and we'll look at that in a second. Okay, you can do m.l greater than a date, so you can look for all posts that occurred after a certain date. m.e does exactly the same as m.l, but it adds the date of the actual post into the list line, into the listing. So you might wonder, well, why bother having 2 different things? The reason is that it's far quicker to transmit a list without the dates, because the dates add 11 characters or whatever it is, and you've got that times 5, so that's another 55 characters to transmit. Actually more than that, isn't it? It's 66 characters, because you've got the 60, because you've got the space after it. But you can see that it just adds to the amount of data you've got to move across the JS8 call link. M.G will get a post from a blog. So for example, M.G24 gets the post number 24. M.WX gets your weather reports. And then we've got this rather special command, @MbQ, MB space Q. Now, all of the others, as I said, are directed to the server that's running the blog that you're interested in. But you may not know which actual stations are running a microblog server. And if you do @MB space Q, what you'll do is you're basically asking all of the MB servers that can hear you to announce themselves. So we'll see that in a second. The MB servers actually send out periodic announcements. You can change the timing on it, but typical timing might be every hour. The problem is that if you are only able to connect, say, for 15 minutes a day and you haven't actually seen the announcement, then how do you know which servers you can talk to? So this is a way of eliciting an announcement from the servers. Okay, I think at that point we can actually jump into the demonstration. Now note that we don't have any stations selected in this left-hand area. And if we did have any selected, we could use the deselect button here to cancel that out. Now the first thing we want to do is discover if any of these stations are running a microblog server. And we do that with the @MbQ. So that's going to the @MB call group. And in fact, I said, you know, don't select an entry on the right hand side. You could of course select the @MB call sign at the top there, the group, and skip putting that into the command line. So now we're sending out a query. I'm going to speed up all of the responses because obviously it takes some time to transmit. So I'll do that now. Here we've received an announcement from a station announcing a blog called M0PXO, and it's come from station M0PXO. That's not uncommon at the moment. Then we've got the latest post ID, which is 9, and then the latest date of the latest post that's available on the blog. So let's go on and select that station, and now we're going to actually try and get some information from the server. What we asked for was the listing of the 5 most recent entries on the blog. Now you may think, well, how do I find out what other entries might exist? So the next command we've entered here is m.l is greater than 0, and we've done that so that we can get a listing of all of the posts on the blog that are greater than post ID 0. So let's see what we get with that. I wanted to jump in here just to explain something. You notice how the list order has got a bit muddled, and part of the listing is now up on the line that contains the first part of the response. So the word solar update is in the wrong place. This is something you will see when you're using JS8 call. I'm not quite sure why it does this, but in a second when it gets the complete message, you'll see that it will straighten it all out. In the previous listing, you notice that you see the listing twice. In this listing, you will see it twice, but in the second case, it will be corrected. So there you see it. It's something to do with the way JS8 call handles return characters, I believe. Anyway, let's carry on. So now I'm interested in knowing what was the date of the posting number 7. So I've put in m.e7 and let's see what we get with that. That post was only created a few days ago, so I'm interested in that post, so I want to get the contents. So now I'm putting in m.g7 to actually get the content of that post. And the final thing I'm going to do is find out what's the state of the weather at the location of this this microblog server. Okay, and there you see the content of that 000 file that I explained earlier. It's free text as far as I'm concerned, or as far as the server's concerned. It delivers it just like a post. The one thing you will notice here, and it's actually rolled off the top of the screen, is it's just at the very top. While I was entering the command to request the weather, there was an announcement from the server announcing again, you know, the name of the blog, the latest post ID, and the date of the latest post ID. Now you can get a situation where that might clash with you actually sending the command, and in which case, if you send a command and you don't get a response, but you do notice that you did get either a whole announcement or a partial announcement just at the point where you were waiting for the response, it's quite likely there's been a clash. And so in that case, what you want to do is just resend the command. The server is stateless, so you can keep sending it the same command over and over again, and it doesn't care. It will just respond each time. Okay, I think we'll. I hope that's demonstrated the main features, and let's drop back into the presentation. So I said that I wanted to briefly talk about an additional application called MbClient. Now, in this case, the configuration diagram is slightly different in that we have this additional component, and it's this application called MbClient, and the person who wants to request information from the server would run this client software. Again, it uses JS8 call, so you must have JS8 call running, and JS8 call needs to be connected up to your transceiver and working in all of the normal ways. So it works in the same sort of way as as using JS8 call native on its own. It sends requests to the server and it gets responses. One thing you might wonder is, well, why bother with an application, another application? So let's look at some of the advantages. Now, the really big advantage, and this is by far at the moment the biggest advantage of using the application, is caching. The application does two types of caching. If you request a post with a get command, and you get that information back, and then say the following day you want to read the same post, rather than having to go to the server again to get the post, it gets it straight out of the cache, so you get an immediate response and no waiting. So that's one type of caching. The second type of caching is called promiscuous caching, and basically the application listens all the time to the traffic that it sees from any of the microblog servers, and every time it sees information like listings and posts, it sticks it in the cache. So if you later want to request a post that has already been transmitted to another station, it will get it straight out of the cache. It doesn't need to go to the server to get it. So the increase in speed, and also it increases the efficiency of the whole system, and less occupying time in the server. The whole thing is so much faster. The client will do some other things in the future, but this is by far the biggest of the advantages. The other thing it does is, as it sees the announcements, it maintains a list of blogs that are available in much the same way as JS8 Call maintains the list of JS8 Call stations. The MbClient application maintains a blog list. And the final thing is that it will keep a list on the left hand side of the latest news, the latest post that it's seen from anywhere across the whole network. So that's something that's quite useful, because you can then pick up and go off and grab that information. If you're interested in the MbClient, then you can get full details at that location there, which is at my code repository. That README file has all the details about how to download the client and how to install it. It's very simple. It's a Python program, and it's really simple to install and run. And then there's a user guide. Actually, at the time of me doing this, I haven't done this user guide. There are other videos that you will find on my channel that do cover the use of the client, but I'm trying to tidy things up and make it a bit more modular. So I will be producing an MbClient user guide. And then we have the server. If you're interested in running a server, again, the README file is available. It will explain exactly how to download the software and how to run it. And there is already a video called Introduction to MbServer on YouTube. So if you just search for that string, or if you look on my channel, you'll find that video. And then the other place is the Facebook group, JS8 Call users, which may be where you've discovered this video. So I've been trying to put a lot of information into there. Okay, that's it. I hope you found that useful. Please do message me via the Facebook group if you've got any questions or any comments. I'm really keen to get feedback because it's feedback that's been driving the development of the client and the server. Okay, hope to speak to you again soon.